Okay, welcome to this brief training here on the art of the three-way call. My name is Rocco Solio, and I just wanted to take a few minutes, run through a time-tested system here that's guaranteed to help you build your business. And that comes from a lot of years' experience here for myself and the other leaders here for Team Prosperity Partners that have been doing it for a long time, taught me this method. And anyway, we'll just dive right in. But before we go into the heart here of the training, I wanted to let everybody know that this is a quick talk that I wanted to put together because it relates very heavily to a system, our business operating system of 4 disciplines of execution. And this is another form of a lead measure. If you are brand new and you're just getting involved with the company and Team Prosperity Partners, you'll learn more what that is. But a lead measure, in a nutshell, is designed to have an impact, and it's predictable when you act upon it to give you results of what your wildly important goals are, or a lag measure. So we know that the number of three-way calls will certainly influence the conversion rate of team growth and team building for yourself. So take that heavily into consideration by obviously incorporating what you learn here in this little PowerPoint into your business. And I guess we could start out by defining what is a three-way call. And it's a tool that's used by associates at all levels. This is just not for folks that are brand new in the business. I still use a ton of the leadership here in Prosperity Partners from around the company to help me build my business by getting another bigger picture in front of my prospect and anything that I can certainly share with them myself. And it's really the best time to use a three-way call is after the prospect has already had somewhat of an initial exposure. They've already expressed interest in the business opportunity. You don't want to try and be in the business of convincing anybody. We'll get into that here in a few minutes. But the associate merges another associate into the phone conversation who's considered to be the third-party expert. And they're going to be the ones that now take the prospect from there onto the next step. And the role of the expert is really to escalate the conversation to a point where they can help the prospect make a decision to become an associate as part of your organization or invite them out to the next event. So why do we do three-way calls? Well, again, Prosperity Partners and Legal Shield are committed to a system of growth designed around simplicity. And three-way calls are part of that simple system. It's the best way that we can ensure growth using the laws of duplication. So the idea here is that everybody can do it. One more time, everybody can do it. It doesn't matter if the person's brand new. It doesn't matter how long they've been in the business, what their experience level is, their knowledge in the business. None of that matters here. So we know that if we're going to use the foundation of success, love, speed, well, we've got to make sure that we can use things that are simple because that'll make it go much faster. In addition to being part of the duplication system, the prospect will get to hear a clear and precise message. And also start to learn a little bit more about the company outside of what they've already seen from that initial exposure. We're always trying to get a bigger picture in front of the prospect, give them to see a different perspective than what they've already seen. And the more that we can expand that, they can see really what is going on more behind the scenes, we've got a chance to make that all-important emotional connection with them. And the last thing I want to talk about here, why we do three-way calls, is that it's a great training tool. While the expert is communicating with the prospect and sharing the message and the story, the associate that arranged the three-way call is there listening to the message and ultimately winds up learning what to say when they're called upon to be an expert. Remember that this system is something that's been used for a very long time here within the company, and 90% of the new associates training is going to come from how they got recruited into the business. So by making sure that you're practicing using this tool as often as possible, when you do have somebody new that comes into the team, this is a process that they're going to want to use themselves because that's the way that they were introduced to the business. So when do we do the three-way call? Well, we sort of talked about this a little bit already, but we want, and to the best that we can, we want to make sure that some interest has been piqued ahead of time. We want to make sure that our job as the associate is to pique the interest. We want to be an inviter of people to be able to look at some third-party information. Now, our weapon of choice is no doubt Prospect by Legal Shield. We'll ping out the videos, the primer videos, all the information designed to get the prospect and want to learn a little bit more about the company. But there are also brochures, there's magazines, there's sizzle calls. There's more marketing material that could ever fill up a PowerPoint presentation here. We just don't have time to share. But the point is that we want to make sure that we have information in the prospect's hands, or something that they've seen already, before bringing the expert onto the call whenever possible. Now, I want you to know that during the training period, if you think that you need help in making some of those invitations and making those initial phone calls and having some of those conversations for the first exposure, you certainly have the ability to leverage experts and your leadership here within the organization. Everybody wants to be able to help you out with that, but the true leverage of having an expert comes from the ability for them to escalate the level of interest of the prospect, not making the initial contact. So use that as more of a training opportunity to learn how to make the invitation yourself, because it is simple and it shouldn't take very long for anybody to be able to master that skill. Becoming the expert is a little bit more complicated, and that might take a little bit more experience. But anyway, let's keep moving here. How do we do three-way calls? Well, obviously, you want to make sure that you have an expert available prior to trying to call the prospect back. I just, you can do your best, and we suggest send a quick text message 20 or 30 minutes in advance. See if you can find an expert that can be available for you in case that connection is made. Also, make sure that you know what event or exposure you will invite the prospect to review if they're not ready to make a decision after that call. If the prospect says, look, I still want to do a little bit more research, whatever the case may be, make sure that you already have the next event or the next exposure ready to get in front of them as quickly as possible. I do want to also throw this in as well. It's important. You got to control the background noise. It's very hard to conduct a proper three-way call if there's dogs barking in the background, if there's kids yelling and playing and that sort of thing. It will distract everybody, and it'll make it pretty much a waste of time. So make sure that you're in a clear spot. Make sure that you have good reception. And after you've done all that preparation work, it's time to take the next step. You make the phone call. By way of follow-up, the prospect is on the phone, and we want to start to ask them, based on what they've seen on that initial exposure, what they like best. Make sure there's some level of interest confirmed, and that becomes a signal to transition into the three-way call. Now, when I say ask the prospect what they like best about the presentation or what they saw, you don't have to use those words. It could be like, hey, I know you looked at some of that introductory information. I'm sure there's some things in there that stood out to you, found interesting. What did you see there that was appealing to you the most? Something of that nature. The reality is we don't want to be in a position to ask them, hey, well, what did you think? In general, people have a tendency to look for something that's broken, not something that's fixed. They're looking for the angle. They want to be devil's advocate. Just the best example I could give you for something like that. If you're sitting in a chair right now and all four legs on that chair are level on the ground and the chair doesn't wobble around at all, you don't even notice it. It's working perfectly fine. If the chair is, the screw is loose, it's a little bit shaky, or the one leg's a little bit wobbly, you're probably still sitting there. But one of the first things we notice when we sit down is, oh, this chair is, this one leg here is tilted a little bit. And we don't even compliment the other three for working well. So that's kind of why we want to make sure that we're giving them an opportunity to tell us what stood out to them that they did like, not what they didn't like. So just be careful there. But once that response is confirmed, we've got to start to make that transition. Now, if they say to you, hey, there's absolutely nothing in there that I saw that was appealing to me and I'm not interested, well, we're not going to try and move forward with the prospect at that point. The best thing that I suggest to do is thank them for looking at that initial information. Let them know that if they happen to know somebody who would be interested, or if their circumstances change down the road, to please get back in touch with you, or send your contact information along for any possible referrals. Okay, we don't want to be in the business of convincing folks this might be a fit for them. They need to find their own way to it. Our job is just to get the information in front of them. Now, making that transition, there's going to be a multitude of different responses. If the answer is not no, it could be something as simple as I'm not really sold on it. It looks kind of interesting. I'm not sure I understand everything all the way, or it looks good, but it also looks like it could be a pyramid or whatever the objection that they're going to put in place, but they haven't totally shot it down yet, all the way up to the high end of things of like, I'm ready to get started right now. As soon as you know that they're not saying no, there has to be a mental ticker that goes off in your head that says, I need to get this third-party expert involved in the conversation right now. That's the second that alarm should go off. And so the way to transition that call is by using the feel, felt, found method, which helps validate the response to your initial question about what they like. So let's just take a quick example. If I was talking to a prospect and asked them, hey, what did you like best about what you saw in that short video? And they would say to me, well, I like the fact that it looks like this is something that can help people. A service that actually could really give people some. Folks, I've been through some legal situations myself where I've had my identity stolen. That's perfect, because now we can use this method here and transition by saying, hey, I know how you feel. There are plenty of people in our company, on our team, who felt the same exact way. And what they found was, by getting involved with the company, not only were they able to make a good source of income, but they also felt really, really good about what they're doing. So you're in a great spot. It could also be something more negative that we have to respond to, where they might say something on the lines of, I would like to do something like this. I'd like to be in business for myself, but I've never done anything like this before, and I don't know if it's for me. Our response is, I know how you feel. There are plenty of people in our company who felt the same exact way. And what they found was is that we have this great system in place. After they took a look at it and got further behind the curtain, they saw it was perfect for them. Now, notice how I didn't say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way, because I might not have felt that same way. And I don't want to be disingenuous with anybody I'm having a conversation with. The beauty of the size of our team and our company is you can guarantee that there are plenty of others that did have that same feeling the first time they looked at that information. So we don't want to be making things up just because we think we're trying to suck people into what we're doing. But if you did happen to have that same general feeling, then certainly validate that with them that you did. But if not, obviously you can rely on the company there. So we're moving on at that point. And at that point, we want to let the prospect know that they could greatly benefit from speaking with a friend of yours in the business who that's having a ton of success by helping out other people, helping them achieve their goals and that sort of thing. And so this is where it becomes important for you to have done your preparation work. If you have a couple people that you're going to rely on to be your expert, make sure that you know what some of their credentials are with the company. And I'm not saying that you want to tell your prospect, I've got a platinum world executive director who's a millionaire club member, six-figure ringer, or half, because you really got to take some of those titles that we know in the business, or if you're new, you will know what those titles are in the business, and water it down to a person who's having a ton of success. And basically through their leadership, they're helping so many other people achieve their goals, one of the top income earners in the company. Whatever it is that you can generalize some of those titles down to that will make sense for somebody who's a layman and knows nothing about the recognition levels in leadership. Now, you also can find experts that might not have the longevity and the recognition and everything else. You might find someone who can be a very good expert for you who might only be in the business for 45 days, but know what their past pedigree and experiences are that make them an expert being new in the business. So you might be able to say to the prospect, I've got a friend who I know in the business. He's been with the company for a short period of time, less than 2 months, and he's having a lot of success. And the reason why he's having a lot of success because his background is being a prior business owner for 25 years, and there's your opportunity there to edify the credibility of your expert using their prior experiences in this new business, right? So you've got to make sure that you understand your expert's credentials that you can share with the prospect. The bottom line with that, and then so when we move into connecting them both together, this is not something that you want to try and ask the prospect about. This is something that you want to do for the prospect. If you add, they don't understand the importance of hearing that story yet. So by relying on them to decide if they want to hear from the expert or not is not in their best interest. If you were to say to the prospect, hey, would you mind if I connected you with this particular expert? I think you could benefit from it. Well, they don't know why they're going to benefit from it. So why do we want to leave that up to them to decide? The idea is by edifying the expert, and after you've done that, you just say, hey, look, I'm going to ask you to hang on for a second because I might be able to get connected to Joe Expert right now on the phone, despite their busy schedule. Right, because they might only have a minute or two to be able to speak with us, but I'm sure that if I can grab them on the phone, they would benefit from hearing from them. Hang on one second. And you just go and do it. Don't ask for permission. When you have the prospect on hold, make sure that you give a little bit of a buffer while you have the expert on the line of what your prospect is, their hot button is, maybe a little bit about them. As a matter of fact, you have an opportunity to do that ahead of time by when you text the expert to see if they'd even be available for the call. If you have enough information there to share, that'd be great too. But don't get hung up in trying to give them a 15-minute rundown on the Dun and Bradstreet there of the prospect, just the generals. Because when the expert comes on the line, they're basically going to repeat the same process that you did in the initial follow-up phone call. The expert is going to jump on and ask the prospect again what they like best about what they saw in the business. Now, you will have, when you go to merge the line together, you're repeating that edification process again. Mr. Prospect, I was able to get our top platinum leader on the phone. However, you're going to explain those credentials away. And I'm fortunate he's got just a couple minutes here for us, but I'm going to ask him if he doesn't mind to share his perspective on Legal Shield about his story, which I think you'll certainly appreciate. And then certainly if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask him. And at that point, after that introduction is made, again, the expert is going to take over, and now you're going to put yourself on the sidelines. At this point, you're going to remove yourself from the conversation and go on silence. It's your opportunity to listen and learn, and it's your opportunity to have someone else do the hard work for you. Look, this is where the magic happens. This is where the expert is going to take over for you and start to expand, and like I said in the very beginning of the presentation here, escalate the conversation to a point where some questions that can be asked about making a decision to start with. So you're learning, you're listening, and the thing you might want to know at this point is what exactly is the expert going to say? Oops, back up here. Well, the expert is the first thing they're going to do is they're going to edify you back as an associate in the business and mention your bright future. Whether you're new, whether you've been around for a while, they're going to say, look, you're working with if I was getting started, if I'm the expert, the first thing I'm going to say to that prospect is, the associate who connected you here with me, if I was you, that's who I'd want to be getting started with in the business right now. They've got the fire in their belly. They've got a plan in place. They're connected with the team. They know where they're going, and that makes a big difference in the business. So if you do move forward, you're in very good hands. And so that edification certainly works back and forth, and the expert is trained to make sure that they know to do that. But then they'll go back in and they'll repeat the process again. What did you like best about what you saw? They'll also try with a few primer questions to try and draw some of the pain points possibly out of the prospect. So what is it for you that had you intrigued about looking into a new opportunity to begin with? And then if the prospect is vague, the expert usually can do a good job of trying to draw it out of them by asking some leading questions or giving them some examples. For example, what I mean by that is some folks that are looking to get started in our business have just had enough of the traditional job. They're just on the hamster wheel. They can't seem to get ahead. Not happy with missing the time with the family, being on somebody else's calendar instead of their own. And by using those types of examples, we're usually able to make that emotional connection. Whatever feedback and answers we can get are going to be validated once again by the expert with feel, felt, found. Okay, I know how you feel. For myself, I come from a situation where I just needed to make some more money. So I'm with you there. And what I found was Legal Shield was not only the solution to more money, but it also gave me a lot more time freedom back. However that they can relate that, and they might not choose to say, I felt the same way. We might choose to say other people on the team felt the same way, because we do not want to be disingenuous with anybody. The point is that it's always the transition. The feel, felt, found is the transition. And once that emotional connection has been made, the expert's going to go on to share one or maybe two stories about their personal journey in Legal Shield. Maybe they'll share a story about the company's direction or their history, or something that they can do to just be able to expand and give that bigger picture to the prospect. I personally love to share the history lesson of Legal Shield. You know, the company came out of nowhere, word of mouth marketing, became a $500 million a year company, the Harlan Stone Cypher story. I mean, we've got a powerful story to tell as a company. It's something that anybody would feel good to be a part of. So, and at the same time, I'll often share my personal journey with the company, or somebody else's story that I've heard at a briefing or on a conference call that I know might mirror match that prospect. But the experts know what their role is to be able to tell those stories, to open up the door a little bit wider, pull them the prospect a little further back there behind the curtain. So from there, the expert's going to ask the prospect where they're at, if they're ready to get started. And they might not say, hey, are you ready for us to close you now? That's probably not going to happen. Well, you will hear the experts ask questions like, do you see an opportunity for yourself? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you see yourself? 1 being not really interested, to 10 ready to get started. You know, we're gonna prime them to the point where we want them to give us a decision. Now the reality is that we don't want to force a decision. If somebody has only looked at an introductory video, it's only 5 minutes long, and the next step is this three-way call where they spend another 5 or 6 minutes with somebody, most likely that's not going to be enough for them to do their due diligence. They haven't seen a compensation package or really too many details except for what is shown on short video. So, but we still want to ask the question. We don't want to stop somebody who's ready to make that decision. But most likely they won't be ready to go at that point unless they've seen a full presentation. So the expert's going to be prepared to let them know that there's definitely an opportunity to do some more due diligence. As a matter of fact, there are events happening all over your local market. And there's also some further video resources that we want to get in your hands right away, which Joe Associate, who brought us onto the call here with each other, I'm sure has those dates and times, or some of those video resources ready to share with you right now. And let's get that information in your hands, or something for you to look at as quickly as possible, so we can complete that due diligence. And I'm sure after reviewing that, you're going to be ready to get started for us. And timing's everything. We have a lot of momentum right now, so let's do all this as quickly as we can, so you don't miss any of the opportunity. So the expert knows how to handle that conversation and redirect it back. And I'll just say this as we close out here. I mentioned in the very beginning that this is a lead measure in our business. You will be able to directly count on the growth of your business by knowing the ratio of how many three-way calls it takes to make a conversion of a new team member in the business. And the beauty of the ratio is that you have the ability to improve it by practicing. And every single time that you go through the process, you're going to get better at it. But this is certainly something that you don't have to have a live prospect on the phone to practice. Our organization prepares scripts. We have coaching sessions, conference calls, and if you're plugged into the Team Prosperity Partner system, you should be taking advantage of this information. And so make sure that you do the work ahead of time to understand how this works. It'll be a great tool that'll help you explode your business and your team. And so I'll end it there, and I thank everybody for taking the time to sit with us here for a few minutes. We'll speak to everyone soon. Thank you.